I want to really. I really do.
See if that's in your chocolate.
Robert. Hi, Rose. Good for me. I emailed Robert. I don't know. Let's see. I haven't read the text yet. We have 4. And this is just, again, to get everything on record.
I know Jesse wants to speak.
Busy? I don't know how to do that.
I don't either. I question all the time. Unless my husband. Then I go back and start questioning. How much longer do I continue to do? It's it was. It's funny that you say that because I feel like I'm getting some negativity from that.
Oh, no.
She comes again. Okay, good. I hope not. Huh? I just, which I'm shocked.
Oh, I don't.
I hope.
I don't hear that.
Okay,
So
good.
if there is, it's,
Great.
I mean, all I hear.
Good. And good, Bryce is reinforcing it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
do. I'm constantly texting. I'm like, can you hear yourself reinforce this stuff?
All I hear is.
That's good. Yeah, I'll kind of listen to you guys more than my suggestions. Yes, I finally, we got that whole, I called my clients. We got all that worked out. I said, look, I would really like our kids to be able to do it and I can no problem. Yeah. 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 And that's a good one. 2 minutes. Okay. But yeah. Mr. Hudson and Mr. Murphy. Yeah.
Morning, everyone. Morning, everybody. We're close to start time, so if I could get everybody to please take their seats.
Ten more outside. And I just saw more people show up.
I know exactly what one.
I agree. We've run too many people.
Come in.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. It is after 10 a.m. I am calling to order the meeting of the ADOSH Advisory Board. Welcome. We'd like to begin the proceedings by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we appreciate everyone attending today. My name is Tony Dominguez. I'm the chair of the ADOSH Advisory Committee. I'd like to introduce the other members of the committee that are present, and we have 3 who are attending virtually. To my left, we have Amber Pappas. Or excuse me, to my right. To my left, I have Robin Steiner, Blue Coble, Scott Halley, and somewhere in the room is Phil Murphy. Attending virtually, I have 3 members, so if I could ask those members to please unmute and acknowledge that they are online.
Bill Warren. Robert Duffy.
Paul McKee. And Bill Warren.
Yes, I am present.
Thank you. In the audience, everyone should have signed in. We're going to start with the ICA staff that are in attendance, just confirming that everyone's present. So if you would just please acknowledge that you're here. Grant Smith, Charles Carpenter, Phil Murphy, Cecilia Herrera, Bryce Rucker, Bethany Rota,
Here.
Debbie Roll, excuse me,
Outside.
Marie Hamilton,
Also outside.
Mireya Gomez, Kara Dimas,
Outside.
Annie TC.
Outside.
So we also have a number of individuals who are participating virtually. We have to do the same acknowledgement for their presence as well. Cecilia Ortiz, Tony Pineda, Jesus Reyes, Alejandro Valencia, Raul Mendez, Taylor Lee, Leonardo Ramirez, Manuel Ruiz, Laura Schweiker, Jill Guernsey de Zapien, Kate Ellingson, Rieta Wagner, Priscilla Ruedas, Grace Appleby, Brandon Clark, Loida Tapia, Mark Kendall, Mike Globinski, Eugene Levar, Blaze Caudill, Catherine Baden, and Jennifer Loreto. Okay. The first agenda item that we have is approval of the minutes of the December 11th, 2025 regular meeting. We're going to defer that until our next regular meeting. Next agenda item that we have is presentation and discussion regarding the Workplace Heat Safety Task Force final recommendations. I'm going to turn the table over to us who acted as the facilitator for that heat task force.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody who is in attendance. I want to review the executive order signed by Governor Hobbs, 2025-009. And so basically, some of the requirements were that ADOSH was to form a workplace heat safety task force in alliance with the governor's office. It was composed of a bipartisan representation from all different sectors. We had private sector, public sector, worker representation, and health experts. We had labor represented, private industry from agriculture, insurance, construction, roofing, and utility. And again, amongst the experts, we had subject matter in agriculture, nursing, also representation from the U of A Heat of Resilience, physicians, and compliance experts. So the goal of this task force, again, was bring together, again, bipartisan representation to come together and come up with final recommendations in support of the current heat emphasis program in the state of Arizona. The task force was to deliver these final recommendations to ADOSH by December 31st of 2025, in which they did. These recommendations can be found online on the ICA's website. The recommendations focused, so not solely, please excuse me with that one, but focused where we had consensus. So we focused on heat illness prevention plans. We focused on water, specifically going into definitions and what that looked like. Again, these are all online. Provisions of shade and provisions of rest, and also training. So the bipartisan group, again, had several meetings over the past few months, came together with these final consensus recommendations, and they now have been put before the advisory committee. From there, basically from the advisory committee, we have been challenged to meet with stakeholders as well. Again, stakeholders were encouraged throughout the governor's workplace heat safety task force to reach out. They're also still encouraged to reach out to advisory committee members. And so we have been working with all of the documentation that has been presented. And today is a meeting to allow public members and anybody else to address the final recommendations that have been posted. Two other things to mention too, along with the executive order, was that ADOSH was to create a recognition program. That too has been posted. That program is called Thermal. So that is a program to recognize employers who want to go above and beyond what is currently in place under the heat emphasis program. The other thing too that came out of the task force was accountability. So ADOSH will be posting on an annual basis on that website statistics specific to enforcement activities, things like inspections and citations. Again, that is available to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point in time, which is agenda item number 4, public comment. We are going to hold an open forum. I do have to establish a couple of kind of guidelines for this. We have a large number of individuals that have signaled that they want to comment on this. We are going to limit public comment to 2 minutes. We are asking that you all, or if you're part of a group or a coalition and you guys want to speak, but there's a large number of you here, that could impede the time and allowing everyone an opportunity to present from different organizations. So that said, if you have a large coalition or group present, could you please kind of nominate a spokesperson for you to convey what it is you would like to share? That being said, I'm going to attend to our online participants first. So as I call your names, individuals, if you are online and you are available and still would like to comment, if you would please acknowledge, and then Amber is going to be establishing that 2-minute timeline. First up, I have Mr. Tony Pineda. Mr. Pineda, are you on?
Tony Pineda,
Yes, sir.
y somos miembros del Centro de Jornaleros Josefina Ahumada, aquí en Tucson, Arizona. Hubo días en que trabajé en techos con temperaturas de 115 grados durante 5 o 6 horas continuas, sin un descanso real. El agua estaba en el suelo, pero nosotros estábamos arriba y nadie quería bajar porque el manager nos llamaba la atención. Me mareé, me enfermé y ni siquiera podía pagar una consulta médica. Tuve suerte de recuperarme, pero muchos trabajadores no corren con esa misma suerte. Por eso necesitamos protecciones contra el calor que sean obligatorias. No queremos sugerencias ni recomendaciones, sino reglas reales que nos protejan a todos antes de que sea demasiado tarde. Gracias.
Thank you. So I forgot to add that we do have translators available in the room that are going to provide translation of what in your Spanish-speaking presenters are sharing with us today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Pineda, and I am a member of the Josefina Ahumada Day Labor Center here in Tucson, Arizona. There were days when I worked on roofs in 115-degree temperatures for 5 or 6 hours straight without a real break. The water was on the ground and we were up on the roof, and nobody wanted to come down. I got dizzy, I got sick. I couldn't even afford a doctor's visit. I was lucky to recover, but many workers are unfortunate. That's why we need mandatory heat protections, not suggestions, not recommendations, but real rules that protect us all before it's too late.
Thank you, Mr. Pineda. Next up, we have Mr. Jesus Reyes.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Jesús Reyes, represento al Centro de Trabajador Josefina Ahumada en Tucson, Arizona. Yo pasé una experiencia hace 4 años, tuve un golpe de calor con graves consecuencias de salud. Durante un trabajo de landscaping, tuve un infarto debido a la diabetes que sufro, tuve que tener 2 operaciones de arterias por falta de agua y porque el patrón no proporcionó agua ni sombra. Necesitamos una ley que nos ayude a que los patrones proporcionen agua, sombra para los jornaleros. Muchas gracias.
4 years ago, I suffered a heat stroke because of serious health consequences while working in landscaping. I had a heart attack due to my diabetes. I had to undergo 2 surgeries because of dehydration. As my employer did not provide me with water or shade, we need a law that requires employers to provide water and shade for day laborers.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Next up, we have Alejandro Valencia.
Solo quiero aprovechar el tiempo para contar una anécdota que afectó directamente el bienestar de una persona muy cercana a mí, el cual su vida y la mía cambiaron definitivamente. Nos dedicamos al lavado de autos a domicilio y en días calurosos los trabajadores se vuelven físicamente muy pesados, tanto que se vuelve imposible terminar una jornada laboral. Como fue en mi caso, mi compañero se desmayó y fue a dar al hospital. Aunque tomamos descansos frecuentemente, no fueron suficientemente para soportar los 118 grados que esos días nos azotaban directamente. El calor nos venció, aunque me dio cuenta de su desgaste cuando me propuse ayudarlo, ya era muy tarde. La cuenta médica no nos perdonó y solamente nos dieron sueros y pastillas para el dolor. Necesitamos que la gente sepa que esto conozca lo delicado que es para la salud. Gracias.
Thank you.
My name is Alejandro Valencia. I just want to take this opportunity to share what directly affected the well-being of someone very close to me and whose life, along with mine, changed forever. We work washing cars at people's homes, and on hot days, the work becomes physically very demanding, so much so that it becomes impossible to finish a workday. That's what happened to me. My coworker fainted and ended up in the hospital. Although we took frequent breaks, they weren't enough to withstand the 118-degree heat that was beating down on us that day. The heat overwhelmed us. Although I noticed his exhaustion, by the time I tried to help him, it was too late. The medical bill was unforgiving, and all they gave him was an IV drip and pain medication. We need people to know about this and to understand how dangerous this is for their health. Thank you.
Thank you. Manuel Ruiz.
Manuel Ruiz, soy parte del Josefina Ahumada Worker Center y pues quiero contar un poco de mi historia en el trabajo de demolición. Todos los días enfrentamos un calor extremo bajo el sol, sin sombra, donde protegernos. Desde temprano siempre cae el sol fuerte, el cuerpo se cansa demasiado rápido. Muchas veces no hay agua suficiente para abastecernos y eso hace el trabajo aún más pesado y más peligroso. Aún así, seguimos trabajando porque pues necesitamos un empleo para mantener a nuestra familia. El calor es agotador, también afecta la salud. Nos dan mareos, dolor de cabeza y deshidratación. No pedimos lujos, solo condiciones más humanas. Agua suficiente, descanso y un poco de sombra. Porque ningún trabajador debería poner en riesgo la vida de quien lo merece y quien lo hace.
I want to share a little about my experience working in demolition. Every day we face extreme heat under the direct sun with no shade to protect ourselves. From early in the morning, the sun beats down intensely and our bodies get tired quickly. Many times there isn't enough water, which makes the work even harder and more dangerous. Even so, we keep working because we need the job to support our families. The heat not only exhausts us, but it also affects our health, dizziness, headaches, dehydration. We're not asking for luxuries, just more humane conditions, enough water, enough breaks, and some shade, because no job should put the life of the person doing it at risk. Thank you.
Thank you.
¡Sí se puede!
I have Jill Guernsey de Zapien. Jill, are you present? Moving on. Kate Elling.
She's there. She just needs to get unmuted. Jill, you're still on mute.
Okay.
Still on mute.
We'll come back to Jill. Kate Ellingson, are you available?
Yes, I'll go. And Jill, the mute is at the bottom. Good morning. My name is Kate Ellingson. I'm associate professor at the University of Arizona. In 2024, I partnered with agriculture economists and other researchers to conduct a comprehensive census of farm workers in Arizona. And since then, we've analyzed weather patterns and crop movement to identify where and when ag workers face the greatest risk from time-intensive, labor-intensive work under extreme heat. And although Arizona is known for its winter harvest, agriculture across Arizona is year-round. Workers harvest melons, lemons, dates during the hottest months, and lettuce cultivation ahead of the winter season requires intensive outdoor labor in extreme heat. And under OSHA guidance, a heat index of above 90 degrees places workers at risk for heat exhaustion and heat stroke during heavy labor. And in Arizona, farm workers routinely perform this work under temperatures that far exceed 90 degrees for prolonged periods. These exposures are predictable and structural, but they're not rare or accidental. They can be mitigated through clear, enforceable workplace standards for water, shade, paid rest periods, and a non-retaliatory system for reporting heat-related symptoms, illnesses, and injuries so that employers can respond before workers experience severe harm. Arizona agriculture contributes $23 billion annually to our state's economy and is critical to the national food security. Protecting the more than 80,000 ag workers who make this work possible strengthens our agricultural workforce and helps sustain the food systems that feed our state and nation. Thank you.
I'm unmuted now.
All right, Jill, go ahead.
Okay, good morning. My name is Jill Guernsey de Sapien. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm the retired founding dean for community programs at the University of Arizona College of Public Health, and I've worked over 40 years in public health research, programming, and education, and particularly with farm workers to improve the health and well-being of farm workers in our state. As you know, farm workers are essential workers who provide food for Arizona and beyond on a daily basis. Yet all of our research validates that farm workers lack the basic protection of water, shade, paid rest periods, emergency training, etc., to ensure protection from heat exposure. It is clearly our responsibility as the state to ensure that they and all indoor and outdoor workers who are exposed to heat are protected. Our Arizona Farm Worker Health and Resiliency Institute at the University of Arizona includes researchers, educators, and program people who have worked with others for the past 3 years to develop evidence-based standards that will address preventing and controlling heat exposure for all Arizona indoor and outdoor workers. These standards include access to drinking water, shade, heat prevention education, paid rest periods, emergency response plan, as well as detailed descriptions for specific requirements to ensure these standards. On a final note, I began my work with farm workers in Arizona in 1985 when I attended an industrial commission hearing here in Tucson, Arizona, on the elimination of the short-handled hoe. Dr. Augusto Ortiz provided critical testimony to the Industrial Commission to regulate the use of the short-handled hoe in farm worker. And the Industrial Commission was moved to action, eliminating the use of the short-handled hoe in Arizona. At the time, Arizona was the last state to adopt regulations.
I'm sorry to
Please,
interrupt.
now today, let us join proudly those other states that are providing enforceable standards to protect our workers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rieta Wagoner. Rieta, are you present?
So she's in view only mode, and she did raise her hand. She cannot unmute herself.
We can come back to her. Priscilla Ruedas.
Hi, that's me. Dear members of the advisory committee, my name is Priscila Ruedas, and I do farm worker and border health research and evaluation in the U.S.-Mexico border with the University of Arizona. But most importantly, I live in Yuma, where we normally spend about a third of our days over 100 degrees, and we're often reaching 117. Heat is part of our lives, and because we all think we know the heat, we just push through. We've done it before, it's one more hour and we get to go home for the weekend, or because we're the only ones that can go out to work because it's too dangerous for other family members to do so. And thinking we've done it before, we fail to realize that the weather is hotter, that there's record heats every year that are followed by record heat-related deaths. And this leads to tragedies like the death of Dario Mendoza, who collapsed on a heat stroke while working in agriculture in Don Valley in July of 2023, a high that day of 116. Arizona is the state home to most of the hot cities, yet no current precautions are really in place that are going to protect Arizonans from said heat. Heat exposure results in preventable, acute, and chronic health consequences. Prolonged and repeated heat exposure is associated with increased risk of chronic disease and higher rates of premature mortality. So today, I'm here to testify as a researcher who sees the impact of heat in my community, but I'm also here to testify as a daughter whose dad had 2 heat strokes, and a cousin, my cousin Felipe Ruedas, died of a heat stroke in 2023. So I'm asking that you please create mandatory, but most importantly, enforceable standards that are going to ensure that our loved ones make it home. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming back to Rieta Wagner.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Dr. Rieta Wagner. I'm a researcher at the University of Arizona, where I study heat exposure in farm worker populations across the Southwest. Using sensors and biological measurements, our research shows that workers are exposed to dangerous levels of heat for far too long during the workday. On top of this, dehydration is very common. Over time, these levels of heat stress cause notable damage to the body, including damage to the kidneys, the cardiovascular system, the brain, and the muscles. And what we measure in the fields aligns with what you're hearing today from workers. They're working in extreme heat, they don't have access to shade, water, and restrooms, and there are real health consequences. The science behind this is clear. Heat-related illnesses and deaths are preventable. And the solutions are easy. Provide access to shade, hydration, paid rest periods, acclimatization schedules, and have emergency plans in place. From an economic perspective, the data shows that workers with these protections are actually more productive and less likely to be injured or make costly mistakes on the job. In short, these protections increase efficiency, and efficiency is good for business. We have a responsibility to protect our essential workers and to make sure every worker in our state return home safely at the end of the workday. I urge you to adopt specific enforceable heat regulations to protect our workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, we have Loida Tapia. Loida? When she's present. So at this point in time, these were our virtual attendees that wanted to participate. I'm going to turn our attention now to those of you who are present in the room that is signifying that you would like to speak and present. Again, 2 minutes. If you would please come up to the podium so that everyone in the room can hear your comments. And for those of you that have registered to speak to Just, again, for the sake of brevity and time, if you guys kind of form a short line so that we can get through these in quicker succession. First to the podium, we have Mr. Jason Sangster, Arizona Building and Construction.
Hello, good morning. ADOSH Advisory Committee. My name is Jason Sangster. I'm the president of the Arizona Building Construction Trade Council and the business manager for Ironworkers Local 75, and a member of the Governor's Workplace Heat Safety Task Force. I'm here to speak in support of this recommendation. During my 22 years as an iron worker, I've worked on plenty of job sites throughout the state of Arizona in which workers were asked to complete their job task in 110-degree plus weather, and no access to water, clean water, shade, place to rest. Too often, the lack of water on job site has become so prevalent that we regularly on these job sites has supplied other workers with water just so that they can make it through the day, and just to ensure their safety. In addition to the access of water, the training aspect on how to prevent and identify heat illness that included in our recommendations going to help prevent injuries and save lives. During the task force meetings, I was impressed with the participation from all the representatives with a variety of perspectives. Everyone had some good goals to prevent heat illness and wanted to openly discuss the best practices, and wanted to openly discuss, ultimately the recommendations were the end result of the extensive stakeholder feedback, open discussions, and the adaptation of industry practices that will prevent heat illness in Arizona. Guaranteeing workers access to water, shade, place to rest may seem like a simple fix, but please know that having the ICA implement these suggestions is going to improve the quality for many lives for brothers and sisters who are working outdoors. Again, thank you for your time up here. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up, I have Pat Van Manen.
Good morning, members of the committee. I'm Pat Van Manen, and I'm the current chair of the Arizona Nurses Association Health and Climate Work Group, and also a member of the task force. And thank you, Amber, for shepherding us through the process. Might have felt like herding cats at times. You've heard some of the professors from U of A talk about the research, so I won't belabor that, but know that the combination of heat also impacts injuries and impacts worker vigilance, coordination, and judgment, as well as the physical impacts of the heat itself. From our discussions during the task force meetings, we really know that prevention is the key. And occupational safety training and education requirements should explicitly warn about the roles of heat in such injuries and physical issues. Heat safety measures, such as the recommendations that the task force finalized, acclimation, rest, water, shade, and written heat plans, will be critical for safeguarding workers' health and reducing the hidden economic costs of heat-related injuries. As climate change intensifies and extreme heat events become more frequent and pervasive, adopting and enforcing comprehensive heat safety regulations will become increasingly important. A majority of task force members did sign a document supporting moving from recommendations into the next step of rulemaking to establish workplace heat safety standards. 15 seconds. I was one of those task force members to sign. I concluded that Arizona should be bold and willing to put in place standards that give Arizonans an opportunity to lead by providing guidelines. A study from Health Affairs in December after our last meeting did look at the state that has had standards in place the longest, which is California. They found that they found that the moving to standards is really beneficial and saves lives. So I look forward to your work and moving forward for us in Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to the podium, I have Laurel Hardin.
Good morning. My name is Laurel Hardin. I've lived in Arizona since 1960, 66 years. I've noticed climate changing, a long drought, 20 years, and seasons changing. I have to plant my garden later due to the longer summers. And growing, my mature citrus trees are dying even though we irrigate in an SRP flood irrigation area. I personally felt heat fatigue when for 2 hours in temperatures of 100 degrees, I became so tired and I had to go to the doctor and he put me on a saline IV drip for 4 hours. I had only been out for 2 hours. Also, my nephew-in-law worked outdoors all day on power or telephone lines, poles. He started getting symptoms of great fatigue and other physical problems, stomach problems. It's clear the company he worked for did not adjust their policies, so he moved his family to Colorado, where there's a cooler climate. Every day, I see the mailman riding in an open truck and walking around the neighborhood to deliver mail. I read that the USPS recommended enclosed air-conditioned vans for mail delivery personnel. I'm glad to see them in our neighborhood. I support your regulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to the podium, Darren Perkins.
Good morning, advisory committee members. I appreciate the opportunity to share just a few remarks with you. I'm here representing my own consulting firm, Perkins Safety Consulting. And as a former ADOSH director, and I think the longest serving ADOSH director, I feel like I have maybe a little different insight into the recommendations. So let me just share those with you. I'm completely supportive of the issue of needing to have recommendations or a standard to deal with the heat. There's no question about the health effects that come from exposure to extreme heat. So nothing that I say here should be construed to mean otherwise. The recommendations, however, have been touted as just that, recommendations and guidelines. But if I'm not mistaken, the real intent is for ADOSH to use those recommendations to issue citations under their general duty clause. With that in mind, I think there are some challenges that are that the regulated community should be concerned about. The recommendations, if we can call them that, need to be tightened up. There is a lot of subjectivity to what's in certain portions of those recommendations. Water must be easily accessible, for example. Employees must have ready access to water. So that type of terminology doesn't help the regulated community to know exactly what ADOSH is looking for. Where one compliance officer, for example, believes that water is readily accessible, another will feel that it is not accessible enough. Where one compliance officer believes that a cooler is cleaned with regularity, another will believe that it is not cleaned often enough. And so with that in mind, I would respectfully request that before anything is passed along to the Industrial Commission for actual enforcement, that there be some changes looked at to make sure that employers know exactly what ADOSH is looking for so that they can comply with those requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Caitlin Paraday.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Caitlin Parody. I'm here speaking today as a steering committee member of the Arizona Heat Standards Coalition. a Phoenix resident and the Associate Director of the National Council for Occupational Safety and Health. And I want to thank all of you on the advisory committee for your review of the task force recommendations and for listening closely to the dozens of workers, occupational safety and health and policy experts, and community advocates who are making public comments today. I think what we're going to hear repeatedly is that the science is clear and the urgency is real. Arizona workers need robust protections from heat immediately. They actually, needed them yesterday, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, right? There's no more time to delay. The recommendations that you have from the task force include 100% consensus that employers need to provide Arizona workers with a written heat illness prevention plan, cool, accessible, no-cost drinking water, adequate and accessible shade, effective and encouraged rest breaks, acclimatization protocols, and effective training in languages that workers can understand. Elaborating on this mandate, a majority of task force members additionally signed a letter with some further recommendations, including objective temperature, thresholds, emergency response protocols, additional retaliation protections for workers. But most importantly, they signed a letter indicating that the best vehicle for these protections to be delivered is through an enforceable, formal, and specific workplace heat safety standard for outdoor and indoor workers. I want to say that again. A majority of the task force members whose recommendations you have in front of you recommended that ADOSH promulgate a binding rule governing heat safety in indoor and outdoor employment. That rulemaking process will also, I think, help address the issues that the former director and last gentleman just spoke to as well. So the next step is clear. ADOSH needs to start the rulemaking process without any further delay, and people's lives are on the line. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Betsabe Ruiz. Forgive me if I mispronounce that. Absolutely.
Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Betsabe Ruiz. Yo trabajo en Campesinos Sin Fronteras. Soy educadora de salud en prevención del estrés por calor. He trabajado durante los últimos 4 años llevando educación al trabajador agrícola acerca de las protecciones sobre el calor. Pero tal vez la educación no es solo suficiente, ya que a lo largo de estos 4 años ellos han compartido muchas de sus experiencias de vida durante el trabajo, donde ellos han compartido cómo la falta de sombras en su área de trabajo afecta mucho a su calidad de vida. Y también el agua ellos no la tienen cerca y es muy difícil para ellos estar tomando constantemente agua, y el tener que esperar hasta el break para poder estar tomando agua cuando estás trabajando a una temperatura de 120 grados, 125, que es lo que regularmente hay en el sur del condado de Yuma, es muy agotador para ellos. Y una de las experiencias que más tengo presente en este momento es una persona que ha tenido 3 veces golpe de calor durante sus horas de trabajo. En una de ellas, la señora quedó inconsciente en medio del campo. Unos compañeros de trabajo la auxiliaron, el mayordomo y el supervisor no le provieron la ayuda, sino que sus compañeros la ayudaron y ella terminó en el hospital. Debido a eso, ya no, a esas 3 ocasiones, ella ya no puede trabajar en el calor. De hecho, ella no puede salir al calor, tiene que estar siempre dentro del aire acondicionado, porque eso le ha afectado a su vida diaria. Entonces ella ha tenido que buscar otras maneras de trabajar porque no puede estar en el calor. Muchas gracias por esta oportunidad de ser la voz de los trabajadores. Gracias.
Thank you.
Hello, committee members. My name is Betsabel Reese. I am in charge of the organization Campesinos Sin Fronteras, or Agricultural Workers Without Borders. I've been working as an educator for 4 years, educating agricultural workers against heat illness, but the education that I give is not enough. Workers have told me about their experiences on how lack of shade affects their quality of life. Water is hard to be constantly drinking on the job. It is also hard to wait until your break to drink water when it is 120 to 125 degrees outside. And that is common in Yuma County, where the workers work. One of the more recent experiences is one person who had 3 heat strokes while on the job. On one occasion, she became unconscious in the middle of the field she was working in. The supervisor did not provide help. Her coworkers had to help, and she ended up in the hospital. She can no longer work in the heat. She can no longer be in the heat. She has to be in air-conditioned environments. And thank you for being the voice of the workers.
Next up, I have Mr. George Williams.
Good morning, everybody. My name is George Williams. I'm a cabin cleaner at Sky Harbor International Airport. I'm here on behalf of my coworkers about the extreme heat that we work in on a daily basis. Day and night, the heat is brutal. I've had coworkers literally pass out from heat exhaustion, which in turns make us short-staffed because they can't come to work the next day. We have to clean planes short-staffed, or we can get planes clean. What we do are we clean planes and do weapon searches to make sure everything is safe for passengers coming and going on and off the planes. When we have to rush to do our job because our coworkers can't come to work because they're sick the next day and they can't come, it makes our job harder. As far as hydration and water provided for the people, our ramp agents, they're out there literally in brutal heat all day and night. Depending on the size of the plane, sometimes we have to stand out there 30, 45 minutes before we can board the plane to clean the plane. Those ramp agents are out there moving luggage, doing flight walks, and doing whatever it is that their job calls for on a daily basis, and they do it at night. At the same time, we need that ordinance to be in place and mandatory so that we get what we need. Air-conditioned break rooms, vehicles that we have to travel in need to be working properly. And we really need this bad. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, I have Trina David.
Good afternoon. My name is Trina David. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm an airport worker at Sky Harbor Airport. I'm a member of the Heat Standard Coalition and an IAM member. I came here last month to speak about the heat conditions on the tarmac, where it can be in excess of 150 degrees and we're out there for long hours. I want to be clear. I am here today because it's not that hot today. I'm here because we all know what is coming. Arizona doesn't ease into summer. We go from mild mornings to dangerous heat almost overnight. And even before we hit triple digits, conditions become hazardous. When it's 80 degrees outside, it's 100 degrees on our tarmac. That's not a comfort issue. That's a safety issue. It's an operational reliability issue for businesses and every industry that keeps this state running. Winter is the only time that we can prepare for that. Winter is when responsible leadership puts standards into place so we're not scrambling when the first worker goes down. And winter is when the commission has the opportunity to prevent the same incidents that we saw last summer, not just at the airport, but in every warehouse or construction site, in every delivery yard, and in every outdoor job across the Arizona state. Right now, every employer is still operating under its own interpretation of what safe enough means. Last summer, we learned that companies disagree on what functional air conditioning means. We still have some companies that believe Phoenix is not an extreme heat station. Despite the 3 straight years of record-breaking temperatures, workers are the ones that feel the difference. They are the ones that keep stepping inside to cool down, even though it cost them in discipline points and retaliation. That is why as needed does not work. It fails. It leaves safety up to interpretation, not protection. That is not a safety program, it's a liability. When the heat returns, and it will, these risks become cost delays, medical bills, staffing shortages, damaged equipment, overtime, and lawsuits. This commission has always stood for fairness, stability, and common sense regulation that protects both workers and businesses that rely on them. That is all we're asking for. We don't prepare for monsoon when the monsoon hits in the middle of the storm. So if 110-degree day.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm gonna have to cut you off to allow for everyone else to have an opportunity, please.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Enjoy your day.
Next up, I have Brianna Parkinson. And as she's coming up, again, if you all are here representing GRIP, just for the sake of time, because we only have about 15 minutes left, if you could kind of just ask one person representing your organization to speak so that everybody gets at least some opportunity to present. Go ahead, Brianna.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Brianna Parkinson, and I represent AFSCME, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees in Arizona. AFSCME represents thousands of public sector workers across Arizona, the people who hold the fabric of our communities together, from wastewater technicians to public school bus drivers. The reality we face today is a dangerous patchwork of protection. Because there is no uniform state standard, a worker's safety depends entirely on their zip code or their employer's personal interpretation of safety. In Tucson, school bus drivers are spending hours in vehicles without air conditioning, driving around children and families. In various municipalities, inspectors are sent into homes with no cooling and expected to set up portable units with no personal cooling equipment to protect them. As a member of the Governor's Workplace Heat Safety Task Force, I have seen firsthand the necessity of the recommendations we've pushed forward. The Arizona Heat Standards Coalition, alongside numerous organizations and task force members, have signed on to our recent letter calling for enforceable uniform standards. Voluntary guidelines are not enough when lives are on the line. We need a baseline of protection that covers both the public and private sectors. We are asking the ICA to adopt a standard that ensures every worker in Arizona, regardless of which city they work in, has a right to water, shade, rest, and a seat at the table when it comes to their own safety. We cannot afford to wait for another heat wave to realize general recommendations are insufficient. Let's lead the way and protect Arizona's workforce now with an enforceable heat standard. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, I have Jessica Martinez.
Good morning. Buenos dias. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Jessica Martinez, and I serve as the Executive Director at the National Council for Occupational Safety and Health, also known as National COSH. And we are a national network of safety organizations, occupational and health professionals, technical experts, and including former OSHA leaders who share a common evidence-based conclusion that a strong enforceable standard is necessary to prevent injury and death. A majority of testimonies, if not all, here today have said guidance alone is not enough. Workers do not need suggestions. They need enforceable protections with clear requirements and real consequences when employers fail to act. Without a standard that has teeth, Workers are left exposed, and employers who cut corners face little accountability. From both a technical and human perspective, heat illness and heat death are entirely preventable. As safety professionals, we have been consistent for decades about what workers need: access to water, rest, breaks, shade, cooling, training, and clear emergency protocols. These are basic, well-established, yet even guidance in place, we continue to see employers failing. Last summer, we know 26-year-old fire recruit Cody Tretch died from heat illness during training while walking laps outdoors in full firefighter gear. ADOSH later found that his employer failed to train recruits on the signs and symptoms of heat exposure and rightfully issued a citation under the general duty clause. But we want to be clear, fines only after people die are an imminent risk or death are not enough. This was a foreseeable and preventable death that could have been prevented if a statewide heat standard had been in place. Arizona has a historic opportunity right now as one of the hottest states in this country. In a state defined by extreme heat, it is unfathomable that workers still lack a clear enforceable heat protection standard. You can lead the nation by adopting a rule that reflects science, public health, and a lived reality of workers. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Next up, I have Gabrielle Lawrence.
I want to thank the commission for allowing us all to be able to talk about this and provide information. My name is Gabrielle Lawrence. I'm a psychologist in Phoenix. And so I work with a lot of mental health issues. And I do believe that our heat situation is really a very serious one in terms of mental health. I would like today to just, I don't have a personal, sorry, I don't have a personal story, but I do have data that just completely really surprised me. So extreme summer heat in Arizona poses a serious risk to outdoor workers, causing record heat deaths. 645 in Maricopa County in 2023, a substantial economic loss. Nearly 6% of the workers is impacted, with the risk of 35 times higher for farm workers and 13 times higher for construction workers compared to their others in their industry. And mortality also. In 2023, 75% of heat-related fatalities in Arizona were outside, were outdoors. Between 2013 and 2024, over 4,320 people died from excessive heat in Arizona, with approximately 4,298 annual emergency rooms visited for heat-related illnesses. In 2020, the average Maricopa County, the average Maricopa County outdoor worker could lose as much as $5,000 in annual earnings and 41 days due to extreme heat. The safety compliances of A 2024 inspections program found that over 64% of inspected businesses were non-compliant with heat-related safety regulations.
Time is up.
I'm sorry.
So I thank you. I just think the data, and that is not quite new data, really does tell the story. We have to change that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, I have Jean Rossini Weir.
Good morning. Thank you, the Industrial Commission of Arizona, with meeting with us today and listening to our stories. I'm a hospital pharmacist. I've been working in the Valley for over 40 years, And I see the patients that come into the hospital, sometimes too late. They are beyond saving. So unfortunately, these incidents have gone up in the last 5 years. I work also with various climate organizations trying to bring down global temperatures at the root cause so that this issue does not face us today. But unfortunately, we're sort of losing a battle right now, but we're not giving up. So to take care of our people and mitigate climate change, just what we've seen is an increase, a significant surge in hospital admissions in the last 5 years, with 60% increase since 2020. So everybody else's stories here are valid. Mine is short and sweet. There's also an economic disadvantage to not taking care of our workers in the field. One day in the hospital is approximately $3,000, and a typical hospital admission, start to finish, is upwards of $17,000, just to put an economic cost on it. And I just really thank you all for considering providing policy to protect our workers with water, heat, and shade mitigations. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, I have Jasmine Moreno Dominguez.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Yasmin Moreno Dominguez, and I'm here on behalf of the Arizona Heat Standards Coalition, but also as the daughter of someone who has worked construction for the past 30 years. I'm here today to urge the Commission to move forward with an enforceable heat standard and to do so quickly. I know we have heard countless stories from workers and testimonies, and I can sit here and tell you the story of my father, who's also suffered 10 years ago and was bedbound for about 2 weeks because of extreme heat. But I want to take this opportunity to reiterate some of the stories that I've heard from workers across Arizona last summer. Story number 1, I worked in the fields for 3 years. I was often dehydrated, and my company did not provide any kind of water distribution system. The workdays were 16 hours long. There are no words to describe how difficult it is. I work a minimum of 12 hours a day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., sometimes until 7 or 8, Monday through Sunday. During all of this time, we only get 2 breaks, 30 minutes. But even then, we find no relief from the sun. There is no shade, so we eat quickly and look for shelter however we can, under a tractor, underneath our tools, beneath the tanks, behind tires. Any little bit of shade we can get so that we can continue working. I've seen people collapse from the heat. I've seen people drop dead. Once we were working in the melon fields and a person was next to me. He said he felt sick and the foreman told him to get inside the van. I was driving that van. The person was left with his feet dangling below and died. I reiterate these stories because these workers cannot be here today. And as you work forward with this enforceable heat standard, I want you to think about these individuals because we need this enforceable heat standard and we need it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Joanna Strother.
Hello and good morning. My name is Joanna Strother and I'm here representing the American Lung Association. Extreme heat is no longer an occasional inconvenience. It is a serious and growing safety concern, and it directly affects lung health, especially those workers exposed to outdoor conditions, dust, fumes, or poor air quality. When temperatures rise, our bodies work harder to cool themselves. Breathing becomes faster and deeper, which means the lungs take in more air, and with it, more pollutants, dust, smoke, and chemical particles. During extreme heat events, air quality often worsens due to ozone. Heat also causes dehydration, which dries out the airways and reduces the lungs' ability to clear irritants. This can lead to coughing, chest tightness, shortness of breath, an increased risk of asthma attacks, bronchitis, and other respiratory complications. These effects may not always be immediate, but repeated exposure can have long-term consequences. From a safety perspective, heat-related respiratory stress also impacts decision-making, reaction time, and overall job performance, raising the risk of accidents and injuries. Extreme heat is not just a temperature issue, it's a respiratory health issue. Protecting lung health during heat events protects workers today and reduces long-term health impacts tomorrow. Addressing this risk is both a safety responsibility and a public health priority. Proactive regulation protects workers and strengthens public health resilience. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Anna Gorla.
Hi, my name is Sana Gorla. I'm with the Sierra Club Grand Canyon chapter, which is the Arizona chapter. I'm here to echo a lot of what has been said by experts, workers, and community members. Arizona is one of the fastest warming states in the country. We've all seen our summers in the last few years, breaking record after record in consecutive high temperature days. It's hotter and the heat is lingering longer. It's clear that we're in the bullseye of climate change. We should be leading the movement for climate action that includes protection for people who are exposed to the extreme heat. If we trust employers and companies to protect their workers, then these required standards shouldn't be a problem. In fact, it can encourage other states to do the same. Workers deserve basic protections from something that can be preventable. Thank you.
Thank you. Just real quick, the meeting was supposed to conclude at 11. We only have 5 more speakers left, so I think it's important enough we get everybody an opportunity to say their piece. We do have a couple of committee members that have professional obligations that may step out of the meeting, but we're still able to maintain quorum. So I'd like to get everybody through so everybody has an opportunity to present. Okay. Next up, I have Susan Valaket.
Good morning. Thank you again, and thanks for extending the time to the advisory committee. I am Pastor Susan Valaket at First Church, United Church of Christ, downtown Phoenix, also representing Arizona Interfaith Power and Light, AZIPL, which is a faith response to climate change. Here on behalf of both of those organizations, and as a faith leader, really speaking that we stand for people who sometimes don't have a voice in the community to speak for themselves. So in full support of endorsing these heat standards that would be enforceable. So I want to paint a little bit of an irony of a picture. We are involved at our church in the heat relief network that takes those that are unhoused, are homeless, unsheltered, off the streets into air conditioning for 8 hours of the day into our own building. We have the support of Maricopa County and have had their support. And the irony for me is that while we have unhoused inside, protected from the heat, outside, I have our own workers that we have hired for landscaping exposed to the heat without rest and shade, and have had to intervene for one of those workers that has been hired on our property, and had to also confront the owner of the company when he chose to have them come and trim the palm trees on one of the hottest days of the summer when it was meant to reach 115, and they did not start in the earliest part of the day to do that work. So AZIPL, Arizona Faith Network, and also my church in support of these standards, because not everybody comes from a place of compassion. Some people need rules.
Thank you. Next up, I have Gretchen Reinhardt.
Thank you for extending the time. My name is Gretchen Reinhardt, and I am a small business owner, a Colorado transplant, who has invested 30 years raising my family and growing my community here in Arizona. I thank each of you for your service on this commission and the opportunity to speak today. I appreciate that you, like me, have invested your lives and families for the long-term success of Arizona. Heat is our shared challenge. I'm sure you've noticed that those of us with an ability to leave during the ever longer heat season do so, and visitors avoid the heat season. My faith community is half the size in the summer as it is during the winter months. I have family members, neighbors, and friends who do not only can't afford to travel or take time off in the summer, they also work in the heat outside in construction, landscaping, or doing field research, and indoors in commercial kitchens. Some employers have good heat protection policies in place and an impressive work culture that supports worker safety. Unfortunately, good policy is far from common practice. The differences between employers can be literally a matter of life and death, as we have heard. And that's why enforceable standards are necessary. I ask each of you to think about your personal web of human connections and whose safety is in your hands. You have the ability and responsibility to establish enforceable worker heat standards. I believe that enforceable standards are also necessary for Arizona's healthy economic future. Enforceable standards are a basic necessity for worker safety and support for the long-term sustainability of the businesses we want for Arizona's future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Mike Martinez.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Martinez. I'm a union organizer with Unite Here Local 11, a union representing hundreds of food service workers at Sky Harbor Airport, including around 250 workers at LSG Sky Chefs who prepare the food eaten on Sky Harbor flights. I'm here to urge your committee to move forward with two separate recommendations for the Industrial Commission regarding heat. One, to adopt the recommended changes to the heat emphasis program, and more importantly, two, to move forward with rulemaking on a legally enforceable heat safety standard for Arizona workers. Back in 2017, along with other Sky Chefs workers across the country, workers in Phoenix made their voices heard. That year, Forbes magazine reported that Sky Chefs drivers lacked functional air conditioning in their trunk, even during the blistering summers. A report by our labor union Unite Here released that year noted that in some cases, the company had disabled or removed air conditioning units from its trucks, allegedly to cut costs. Even though routers reported that asphalt, like the tarmac at Sky Harbor Airport, can reach temperatures up to 40 to 60 degrees higher than ambient temperatures. A report published by Unite Here Local 11 found that only 5% of Sky Chef drivers reported that their trucks had working air conditioning units. In the same report, 47% of drivers said that the company policy prohibited carrying drinking water in their trucks. As we've learned from the Sky Chef's experience, not all employers are ready to adopt good safety practices when they remain voluntary. And even though ADOSH can issue some citations under the law as is, those citations are only for situations where workers are already getting hurt and not helping to ensure safety. A voluntary heat emphasis program is not enough and is not legally binding. To do that, we need a legally enforceable standard. Please support the majority of Task Force Advisory Committee members and recommend that both policies move forward to the ICA. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Maxwell Ulan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maxwell Yulin. I am a staff attorney for Unite Here Local 11, which, as Mike has already mentioned, represents hundreds of workers at Sky Harbor Airport and thousands others in the greater Phoenix and Tucson metro areas. I am also a former member of the Governor's Heat Safety Task Force, whose recommendations are now before you today. I just want to dedicate my testimony to highlight a couple of things. One of them is that even as you consider the task force's official recommendations regarding the heat emphasis program specifically, a substantial majority of task force members also support that the committee and the ICA move forward with a binding heat safety standard, not just updates to the non-binding heat emphasis program. A letter signed by committee members to that effect should be in the materials provided to you by the governor's team. The second is that I want to be very clear about how the heat emphasis program does not and cannot do all of the things that a binding heat safety standard can. As federal OSHA officials have made clear to task force members, a heat emphasis program can provide helpful guidance on OSHA's general duty clause, but it cannot change the clause's meaning. That clause will continue to place an exceedingly high standard that bars enforcement in many cases and makes it difficult to apply until accidents have already happened in a workplace. In order to be able to consistently enforce the preventative measures that can keep workers safe and prevent accidents from happening in the first place, ADOSH and the ICA ought to move forward with a binding standard that can make those requirements clear and that will be enforceable by ADOSH officials. With that, I recommend and urge the committee to move forward with both matters, both the heat emphasis program recommendations, but also moving forward with recommendations for a heat safety standard. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker for the day, I have Daniel Harris.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'm Daniel Harris, the Government Relations Manager of the Arizona Farm Bureau, which represents agricultural producers across Arizona, involved in all aspects of farming and ranching in our state's diverse climates. This vital industry does contribute over $30 billion to this state's economy. Arizona's farmers and ranchers recognize the significant contributions of the agricultural workforce and understand the importance of providing a safe workplace for employees that mitigates hazards like heat. It is in the inherent interest of all employers to ensure their employees are taking appropriate safeguards while working and taking proper precautions to avoid hazardous work conditions. Many farmers ensure workers avoid heat stress by shifting their work schedules to avoid the hottest hours of the day, encouraging employees to take breaks as needed, and providing shade and water. Furthermore, existing standards enforced under the General Duty Clause provide ADOSH with the capability to protect employees from heat through enforcement. The ability to issue heat citations is evident in current practices as ADOSH conducts heat illness inspections through its state emphasis program. The task force recommendations reinforce these foundational practices and provide guidance for agricultural employers without imposing unnecessary burdens. For example, they promote straightforward measures such as requiring a written heat illness prevention plan with templates for ease of adoption, ensuring access to cool, potable water, at least 1 quart per employee per hour, providing adequate shade near work sites, allowing preventive cool down rest breaks without penalty, and adjusted for factors like heat index and workload. So these elements appropriately account for the diverse labor needs of agriculture and ensure that requirements do not impede the completion of tasks essential to farming and ranching. Okay. Considering the variances in agricultural work and climate, AZFB supports the task force recommendations as they build on current best practices and fulfill the mandate established by the governor's executive order. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So that concludes the public comment and open forum, excuse me. I do want to say thank you to everyone that presented, and I do want to say thank you to everyone who took the time to be here today. Obviously, our job now is to consider everything that you all presented as we move forward with our recommendations to the ICA. Our next agenda item is the announcement of our future meetings. Next regularly scheduled meeting for the ADOSH Advisory Committee is March 3rd, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. At this point in time, we are going to adjourn this meeting. Again, I want to thank everybody for your time today and for being present and sharing your comments. Have a good day.